call each other African Americans. I never, when we go out there and when we go out there and go on the front line and fight the war, we're Americans. When we go in the Olympic Games, we're Americans. But now when we come home, we're African Americans. I don't understand. We're Americans. We built this land.
Preach.
A BB Fahudie and blessings to the ancestors. It's Deshaun here with a new short video, here to discuss the recent anti-black and anti-African rhetoric I've been noticing, not only online but offline. Recently, Floyd Mayweather was on a panel that I included at the start of this video, where he states that he doesn't like to be called quote-unquote African American, as he claims that he has generations removed from the motherland and insists to be called American. I consider this logic foolish because unless your family intermixed with non-black African people, with the exception of the plantation system where our women was enslaved and raped, the majority of us in the diaspora can trace our lineage via DNA test back to the motherland. Similar to contemporary white people that are quote-unquote American can trace their ancestry to Europe. But the fact that they were born in America does not displace their European origins. More broadly, I've noticed a similar rhetoric historically over the course of my studies and in contemporary times, especially amongst black African people who practice various Abrahamic faiths, who choose to identify as God-fearing Christians, who worship white Jesus, or Muslims who worship Arab prophets and Arab culture, or black Israelites who claim to be the quote-unquote original Jews. More recently, since the rise of online movements like ADOS and FBA, who openly espouse their anti-African rhetoric on social media, also tries to identify with their American identity of their oppressors by trying to shed their blackness or African identity to be recognized as quote-unquote American. I will dispel these notions in future videos, but what I want to discuss more specifically in this video is more of the psychological isili, as Mama Marimba Ani refers to it, the root that animates this type of anti-black or anti-African thought that exists within our psyche as a people. My theory, what causes this, is that after centuries of enslavement and colonization, all these various forms of physical war that has been waged on us has left us as a mentally defeated people that seeks to latch on to foreign identities. For example, in the aftermath of war or being conquered, those who are subjected to invaders like the Europeans or the Arabs tend to impose their cultural values or become a tributary state or a sphere of influence to extract wealth and resources. For historical examples, we see this with Arab Islam and Western Christianity, using a mix of warfare to destroy the indigenous African societies and using religion to assimilate and better incorporate the newly conquered as converts and tools in the overall imperial system. For those who survive the war, themselves and their future generations then seek to reestablish their self-esteem or sense of purpose through these identities of our enemies, thus becoming civilized Europeans or Arabized pagans or Abids. From my point of view as an example, we identify with Arab Islam due to the association or historical perception of the Arab conquest and the perceived spiritual power of Islam, or more recently in the past century, the oil wealth that Arab nations hold. In Black America, particularly in the early 20th century, this perception has been transferred in Islam, being proposed as an attractive alternative to the oppressive role that Christianity had been used against black slaves, as popularized by individuals such as Edward Blyden and later Noble Drew Ali. Similar arguments can be made for Western Christendom and the obsession that many black folks have with white Jesus that has been equated to the white savior complex, whose early missionaries taught blacks the myths about Christianity, rescuing them from the savagery of African ways of life, while those same white Europeans wage wars on their fellow African Christians to enslave them, ironically. Another example can be seen as why we try to identify with Judaism, as Jews are historically perceived as being a powerful minority group that wields institutional global power that enables them to access wealth and cancel anyone. That's partly my theory on why there's been a large growth in the growth of the Black Hebrew Israelites movement, claiming themselves to be the original Jews. Finally, in contemporary times, this recent online movement to identify as ADOS or FBA or Aboriginals, or more laughably as the true Native Americans, while denying your African ancestry, from my view, are just attempts to appeal to the moral conscience of the white power structure for redress and reparations, as some of these groups has received, such as the Native Americans, and etc. My counter to all of this nonsense is that your enemy isn't blind. They know who you are, they know who you were, and they know who they enslaved and who they exploited to build their wealth and power off of your ancestors' back. Today, regardless of whatever banner you choose to switch to represent, whether it's religious or nativist, you will still always be a nigger to them. As long as you are docile and you follow their laws and systems, they do not care what you identify as, because they will see you as the same African they kidnapped and enslaved that made them wealthy and powerful. Appealing to their moral compass will only work for a few Negroes that they will allow as various forms of token representation. There's no need to try to distance yourselves from who we truly are, which is African, the original peoples, the original man and woman of this earth. Anything less than that is self-hate to me. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my theory in the comments. And if you're interested in the Original People's Party, the link to join is in the description below. Until next time, a Bibi Fahudie and blessings to the ancestors.